I'm Gary Null. Nice to have you with us today. This is a continuation of our ongoing series of A Classroom on the Air. Our theme today, how to succeed at life. Now that may seem almost overwhelming in its complexity, but it isn't. Think of all the things in your life you've mastered, that you've done well, that you're proud of, and others are proud of you for having accomplished the task you have. Something as simple, but frequently unacknowledged as being a good parent, being a good partner, a good friend, good at your work, conscientious, caring, nurturing. When you see something is wrong, you feel it. You feel it at the heart, but then you respond at the mind. What can I do to lessen this? And that's important. What happens, however, is that we live a dual life. The duality is, on the one hand, we all master different things, depending upon our personality, what the energy we were born with, whether we're a dynamic person or whether we are a supportive person, whether the worker bee, what I call the adaptive supportive, they adapt to the environment and they support it for the common good, like a worker bee or worker ants, or the person that goes to work every day in a car factory, putting wheels on a car for 30 years. Now, that's not an exciting job, but it's a job that provides that person with the economic support to have a roof over his head, food on the table, clothes on their back, and a good public education, and generally no debt. At least that's the way it was from the 1940s through the mid-1970s. We've gone a long way from there, but in the wrong direction. You remember when you used to go out and play as a kid? I do. Play kick the can, played hide and go seek. We would go out for our little adventures. But that was a phase of our life that allowed us to look at the world, at least our immediate neighborhood, for what it was. We got to know our neighbors. Our neighbors would recognize us. And we became responsible because our parents made us responsible. They gave us the guidelines. They gave us the input. Never will forget something this simple. It was a Saturday morning, and I'd finished my paper out. And my mom said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go play basketball." She said, "Well, there's something else you should do first. Walk to the end of the block." Now, I lived in a working class neighborhood, simple homes, maybe 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. We had 2 bedrooms, one for my mom and dad, 1 bathroom, and 1 for all the boys. And we all slept in 1 bed. That was not fun. Since I had 1 brother that snored and the other brother that always had a funky smell. But that's what life was. But we were happy. We weren't rich. We weren't upper middle class, just working class, but we were happy. We brought our issues to the dinner table, and we all ate dinner together. There were no cell phones, there were no computers, and thank goodness. And our neighbors we knew. So my mom says, "Walk to the end of the block and come back and tell me what you see that isn't right." Okay. I'm like 10 years old, so I walked to the end of the block. I'm looking on both sides of the street. And the only thing I said, "Everything looks normal, except Mrs. Zoller's lawn is a little high." She says, "That's exactly right. Now, why do you think all the homes are nicely groomed, their lawns are cut, but hers is not?" "Because she's sick. And she can't do that herself. So you go down there, and you don't have to ask her, just go in and cut her grass. And don't accept any money. Normally it'd be a dime for a small lawn and a quarter for a large one." And I thought, okay, so when I had done that, Miss Zoller came out. She wanted to give me some money. I said, no, I'm just happy to do this. She smiled and said, "Good." So when I got back home, my mom says, "Now, how do you feel?" So I feel okay. She says, "You are a part of a neighborhood. These are our neighbors. You want to care for your neighbors and to care for their property. If you saw a stranger going into one of their houses that you didn't notice in the neighborhood, would you call the person? Would you go and see if that's a legitimate person in the house, or is it someone robbing the house?" Always be aware, Gary Michael, that we all have to work together. And we did. That message stuck in my mind. So today, if I see that there's a problem in my neighborhood, I want to fix it, at least do the best I can. And hopefully I'll get other people inspired to join in. And generally with something good that protects everyone, helps everyone, empowers everyone, there's a sense of camaraderie. Let's make this work. That comes from the light side of our being, the spiritual side, the moral side, the ethical side, the conscious awareness side, the cognitive awareness side, the mindful side. And all over the world throughout history, appreciating the importance of family, friends, neighbors, your culture, your ethnicity, your religious values, and being able to share these, maintaining your own sense of self, your capacity for independent critical thinking, but also contribute something to the common good. That is what allowed societies to thrive, where people had a sense of feeling good about where they're at, who they're with, and what they're doing. Let's face it, a lot of the work we do, a lot of the rituals we do are not exciting. On the hedonic scale, hedonism, at the very end of that scale is pleasure. The simple pleasures that we all thrive on. The pleasure of being with someone that we enjoy, their company, their humor. Last night I wanted to laugh. I've had a very, very intense day of writing and counseling people, terminally ill people, helping them have the courage to fight and the courage to say, I am not going to succumb to this disease. You have to get that into a person's consciousness where they believe they can survive or they won't. And that you're using your energy and it's draining. So last night around 10 o'clock, I said, where can I laugh? And I looked on the internet and I saw some old Don Wrinkles roasts where he would roast a whole panel, Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. I couldn't stop laughing. It was hilarious. Now, what was funny is that's real funny. And when people watch it, they laugh. When they watch Jonathan Winters and his improvisations, extemporaneous improvisations, no one did it better in America. They laughed. Dick Gregory is a close personal friend of mine. We spent a lot of time together. We laughed. Laughter is very important. But today, first you have to say, am I laughing? Am I feeling good about something that I should be shameful for? So now we've had to micromanage through the woke culture our thoughts, our actions. As a result, professors don't teach openly and honestly. One of the greatest professors in America is Jonathan Haidt. He's a PhD in psychology. And recently he said, I no longer have guest lectures. I no longer show films. I no longer use any humor because I'm afraid that some young kid in that audience will find that egregious, think their life is over because I said something, and file a Chapter 9, which is meaning that person is going to be filing a complaint and the school is going to investigate that teacher, which the teacher has to pay for out of their own pocket, could end their career, and has in many cases, over nothing. So today, we have to realize that part of maintaining our values and our joy and happiness is not to succumb to someone else's judgment of those values and joys and happiness. Where we have the right as a republic versus democracy. Remember, we're not a democracy. We've never been a democracy. We are a republic. Mind you, one nation, remember, the republic is the word they use, which means the power rests with the individuals, not a bureaucratic group of people. And yet today we have a bureaucratic, gigantic bureaucracy dictating what we can and can't do. And with corporate interests, they tell us what is funny and what is not, what is proper and what is not, how we should feel and how we don't feel, what foods we should eat and what we should do, where we should live and where we should not, what to question and not to question. That means our duality is shifting from positive, conscientious choices about my health. I'm going to eat a good breakfast. Why? Because I want my lungs, my heart, and my brain, and my body, and my muscles be fed. I'm going to go exercise because I'm going to live a longer life. And the telomeres, the ends of caps of chromosomes, meaning your shoestring, the caps that keep them from unraveling, those are called telomeres. And that is, in effect, a biological clock. The longer they stay tightly bound to your chromosomes, the longer you live. When you drink, when you smoke, when you're anxious, when you're stressed, when you're eating garbage, those unravel and you die much, much sooner. We shouldn't, but we are. And COVID caused us to reduce our lifespan by 2.5 to 3 years. That took almost 50 years to get to that 76 to 78 years. 76 for men, 78 for women. Now we're back to about 75 for women and lower for men. Well, what can we do? We can do things that improve our awareness, conscious awareness, because you can't just follow rituals and habits. Because what if they're wrong? Eating margarine, that was wrong, but we all believed it was right. Having TV dinners, that was wrong. We thought it was right. Having sugar-filled sodas, that was wrong. Obesity, gum rot, imbalancing the microbiota, overgrowth of candida and yeast in the intestines and vagina and anus, wrong. Eating a lot of meat, more than what we needed, wrong. Right? Making a car that can go 160 miles an hour, yet there's no place in America outside of a racetrack that you can drive that fast. So why tempt people? Because when you start driving at 80, 90 miles an hour and you have a wreck, it's going to be a lot more damage. So why do that? Why put that temptation in someone's mind? But we keep pushing the boundaries. So simple pleasures, the hedonic principle, finding pleasure in your pet, that wonderful sentient being that loves you, licks your face no matter if you got warts and all, is never going to betray you, is going to be your best friend for life, their life. Shouldn't we spend quality time with them? Yes, we should. That's pleasure. Shouldn't we work less if that work imbalances us? Yes, you should, because the success of overworking and overachieving means in direct proportion you lose at every time you gain. Give you an example. Let's just say that a friend of mine, true story, friend of mine's a doctor, and a good doctor. And he's the best of his orthodox treatment, but also he's interested and open to looking at other forms of treatment like acupuncture and homeopathy. But it's quiet. But then he gets so successful that what used to be one of his pleasures, running every day with his dog and spending time with his children, that no longer is where the energy is. Instead, the energy is in succeeding because he keeps spending more money the more he makes. He keeps buying stuff. He had a house, a nice house, but now it was no longer good. So now he had to have a bigger house, a better house. And so one day I sat down with him. I said, buddy, as your close personal friend, think about what you're doing. Your success is destroying the balance in your life. As a result, there is no balance. It's all success. So you're succeeding, you're making money, you're getting acknowledged for your reputation, but look at what you lost in the process. When was the last time you had a date night with your wife? When was the last time you spent quality time with your kids without looking on the cell phone every other second? How long have you spent with your dog? And your dog's now 14 and sick. So he said, yeah, you're right. You're right. Success is an addiction. It's like heroin, cocaine, fentanyl. Once you start, it's hard to stop because you get all this stuff you can buy. How much of that stuff is important to you? Then he thought about it. He realized that he had lived an imbalanced life. So one of the ways we become healthy and happy and live a longer life is to live in balance. Don't exceed anything, even if you succeed at it, if it's going to imbalance something else. Even running, you can overrun, destroys your immune system. Prematurely age you. You can overbuild your muscles, into which case you'll die generally from a heart attack or brain tumor because the body is not used to having that unnatural amount of bulk muscle and the hormones that you displace and dysregulate because you're getting there. Why not just have a healthy, fit body? Because we keep going to excesses. Why? Here's the last part of my statement. Living an authentic life, you live it from a spiritual side. So you can't cheat someone, lie to someone, manipulate someone because it gives you an advantage. That comes from the dark side. That's the side of you that somewhere, someone intoned or implanted in you it was okay to manipulate, to take advantage of others. We have whole industries in America, the debt industry. They want you to not be able to pay your credit card amount on time or in whole, because the moment you can't, interest goes up and they get that interest. So they're making money off your suffering. And you don't have savings. Over 200 million Americans cannot write you a check for $500. Why? A lot of different reasons, but one of them is that we've been led to believe that we need stuff that we don't. We may want it, but we don't need it. So the more stuff we get in our life, the more debt we accumulate, the less savings we have. And as a result, that's my bird. She wants to be in on it. We now have to live with some intrepidation, some constant angst. So instead of getting up in the morning, feel good and what you're going to do that day to honor your authentic self, you get up that day and wonder, what am I going to do? And now you start taking tranquilizers, or you start smoking or drinking or taking recreational drugs, or you think about suicide. None of that is constructive. None of that solves the problem. It just displaces it. So that's what happens when you live out of balance and you allow the unresolved issues of life to dominate. Because what is it we're not acknowledging in life? What is the core message I'm about to share with you in the next 5 minutes? It's simple. You cannot be both positive and negative simultaneously, kind and unkind simultaneously. You can be one or the other. And whatever you are, that's what the dominant energy is in that moment. But what if you only work on the good side of you? And that's the mistake we make. Now think of what I just said. Every book out there, every one of the lectures is, take your personality to another level. Take your ambition to another level. Take your success to another level. Climb that ladder. Look around you. Look, everyone else is doing the same. So shouldn't you. You should get that golden ring, right? That'll mean you've achieved something. No, that means you have failed at life, though you've mastered a career. You've mastered your hustle. You've mastered your hustle so well that no one, not even your best friends, will know who you really are because you didn't overcome the dark side. Here's my message in a capsule. We can only succeed at happiness, at joy, at love, at kindness, at benevolence, at caring, creating, if we overcome the dark side, because the dark side tethers and limits our positive side. Think of all the people who succeeded, very successful. Michael Milken, a billionaire. In fact, in 1 year, he made $1 billion. No one had ever made $1 billion on Wall Street in 1 year before. And yet he still didn't make enough money to allow him to be honest. And as a result, he went to prison. Now, maybe he learned his lesson when he came out. Good. But he had everything going for him, except he was limited in the good side by what he refused to acknowledge on the dark side. His insecurity, his uncertainty, his shame, the complexities of life that must be resolved early in life so it frees us to be who we authentically are at our best. Think of all the people who were successful and then destroyed themselves. Why would someone who is successful and loved and respected then turn around and destroy themselves? Because it wasn't their successful side. It wasn't the light side that was manifesting the life. It was the dark side controlling, the duality. The worst you are, the best you are. So why not put your energy not in the best you are? That's self-evident. You do not improve upon your spiritual being. You do not become more ethical or more moral. Once you're ethical and moral, you are ethical and moral. You're at the highest level of the scale of living a conscious life, a character life. So even if I was told, go steal that, there's no law against it now, I wouldn't do it, because it would be taking from someone I did not and should not judge based upon a law protecting that person. My character says, I cannot steal from you. I cannot lie to you. I cannot abuse you or use you, because that is not a part of my spiritual being. But the dark side, oh yeah. Take advantage of anyone you can at any time. Lie. People lie all the time, every day, all day. Why? Because there's a consequence if you tell the truth. What if you went on one of these blind dates and you're a professional and you're an architect or an engineer and you're now divorced and you're 45 and you still want a relationship and you're meeting someone, you're going to tell them, you know, I'm athletic. I like you, I like to go for walks on the beach. Doesn't everyone in America who's single like to go for walks on the beach? Though they've probably never been to the beach once or watching the movie. I like pets, and they put everything in there. Oh, I like poetry. Everything that makes them seem good. And the person says, oh, wow, you seem like a real catch. I am. Can you be honest for a moment about something? Sure. Tell me about why I should not be in a relationship with you. Well, wow, I can't help myself. I have to tell you this. I cheat. I'm going to cheat on you. We're in a relationship. I've done it before, did it on my wife. I did it. And I don't know why. I have this desire. Okay, so you're a cheater. Yeah. And I lie. Okay, so you're a liar. Yeah. And I'm rather lazy, and I'm not very exciting, and I'm very passive at my life, meaning I live my life by being almost a voyeur, watching television, the internet. And I know it's a waste, but that's who I am. So once we got together in a relationship, we can expect to, spend evenings at home watching stupid television or the internet? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to pass. Do you realize how few relationships we would have if people were honest about their dark side? But they hide that. You only find that out later. Oh, 3 years later, knock at the door. Yes. What's all that? That's 27 truckloads of negativity. Where are you bringing it? I'm bringing it in here. Well, I didn't know that all that exists. Oh, yeah, it was hidden. We hide what other people shouldn't see, we think, because they would judge us. Yeah, don't they have a right to judge you for the completeness of who you are? But wouldn't it be best to say, I'm a human being, I have flaws, we all have flaws, we all have a dark side and a night side, and it'll be there our whole life, because everything we've experienced, everything we felt and been a part of or viewed, everything we believe, that's a part of us. But it doesn't mean we have to act on it. It doesn't mean we have to surrender the dark side to the light side. It means I'm going to work on something until it's no longer my dark side, till it's no longer a limitation. And for everything I resolve, my insecurities and why I'm insecure. And if I have to go through regressive hypnosis, which takes you back in time to where all these dark energies occurred, these experiences, these traumas, then that's what I'll do. Then let the psychologist reprogram that episode. So I no longer have that. I no longer have that fear. I no longer have insecurity. I'm no longer emotionally hoarding stuff. I'm no longer stuck, or I'm afraid to complete anything because I'll be judged if I do it wrong, because I was judged when I was 5 years old doing something wrong. That's what we should be doing. Put your energy on resolving your weaknesses, your fears, your insecurities, your uncertainties, your guilts and your shames. Because if people want to control you, they control you through guilt and shame. And when you're young, you can't intellectualize out of that, so you emotionally hold it. That becomes the epigenetic energy of your dark side. Greed, that's the epigenetic energy. I can promise you, you go back into a person's background long enough, And you'll see where they needed to be greedy, they thought, so they wouldn't be judged for being normal or poor. So now, what have we learned? We've learned that life should be lived in balance, not to excesses. It means that whatever we're responsible for, be responsible. If you're a friend, spend time with your friends. If you're in a relationship, spend time in that relationship. Find time for everything that you've chosen to bring into your life. And if you can't be responsible, don't bring it in. There was a time in my life for almost 5 years that I chose not to have any relationships. Friendships, yes, no relationships. Why? Because I knew it would not be fair to the other person with the schedule I had, where I was producing films, documentaries, 2 or 3 a year. I was writing 1 to 2 books a year. I was doing about 100 lectures a year, doing my broadcasts every day, counseling people every day. So I had no time. I was racing. I was training at the world level, world games, winning gold medals. So I said, that's my priority now. So if I brought someone into that busy life, my life then is going to be competing with the quality of time I could share with someone in a relationship. And I didn't want to have a non-fulfilling relationship. What if we all thought about that? Do we have too many responsibilities? Can we let go of some of those responsibilities? Can we put our energy into overcoming our weaknesses, all of our biases and prejudices, understand how we got them and why we should surrender them and come into the light of being? That's our classroom on the air today. Thank you all for watching. And remember, go to GaryNull.com, where you have articles and films, investigative reports, and every day, Monday to Friday, noon, Eastern Standard Time, I do a live program on PRN.Live, where I take on health, yes, but I also take on all the important issues that affect us. Have a nice day, everyone.
Are you tired of closed-minded programming? Well, look no further than PRN.Live, the home for progressive voices.